Good evening, all. I'm Sneha Mohan, an OET aspirant from Edu Skills International. As you all know, Edu Skills International is a free platform, and our mentor is Father Saleen Joseph. So we are all learning from this platform free of cost, right? Yes. And I welcome you all for the session. That is, today's session is on reading part C. Yes, today we are discussing on the prenatal origins of heart disease. That is sample 3, text 2. And thank you, OET, for allowing me to use this material. So we will be discussing the questions. Today we'll be discussing on 4 questions. Okay, so let us see the first question. Question number 15. What information can be found in the first paragraph? So whenever we start with reading part C, we have to number the paragraphs. That is, how many ever paragraphs are there, you have to number from 1 to so and so numbers. Okay, so that this will really help us to find the answers in whichever paragraph it is. Okay, so here it is clearly asked, what information can be found in the first paragraph? So you just have to read the first paragraph. In reading part C, we are following QTA method, that is question, text, and answer. So now we have read the question. Let us read the text. Heart disease is the greatest killer in the developed world today, currently accounting for 30% of all deaths in Australia. A concept which is familiar to us all is that traditional risk factors such as smoking, obesity, and genetic makeup increase the risk of heart disease. However, it is now becoming apparent that another factor is at play, a developmental programming that is predetermined before birth, not only by our genes, action with the quality of our prenatal environment. Now, let us read the answer options. So before that, we have to know the keywords in the question. So the keywords taken in the question are information and the first paragraph. And there is also a modal verb, can. Now let's read the answer options. Answer option A, reference to some recent findings relating to heart disease. Here the keywords are reference and recent findings. Answer option B, indication of the greatest risk factor associated with heart disease. The keywords are indication and risk factor. Next, answer option C, mention of a misconception about the chief causes of heart disease. The keywords are mention and chief causes. Next, answer option D, figures showing that the country with the highest mortality rate from heart disease. The keywords are figures and highest mortality rate. Okay. So you can, after reading the question, text, and answer options, if you have found the answer, you can put it in the chat box. Let's see the answer option. Yes, answer option A is the correct answer. Now, as we read the text, let's see what are all the highlighted words here. Heart disease is the greatest killer in the developed world today, currently accounting for 30% of all deaths in Australia. A concept which is familiar to us all is that traditional risk factors such as smoking, obesity, and genetic makeup increase the risk of heart disease. However, there's a contrast word. It is now becoming apparent that another factor is at play. A developmental programming that is predetermined before birth, not only by our genes, but also by their interaction with the quality of our prenatal environment. Okay, so let's see the other answer options. Then I'll be coming to the correct answer option. So answer option B, indication of the greatest risk factor associated with the heart disease. If you have read the answer option C correctly, it is mentioned only risk factor. It is singular, okay? Indication of the greatest risk factor. But here they're mentioning about all the traditional risk factors. Here the plural has been mentioned, that is smoking, obesity, genetic makeup. All these increase the heart disease. So it is the wrong answer. Next, answer option C. Mention of a misconception about the causes of heart disease. So is there anything mentioned related to the heart disease or the chief causes? No, it is not mentioned. So we are eliminating answer option C. Next, figures. Again, here it's a plural, okay? Figures showing the country with highest mortality rate from heart disease. It is only out of 100%, it's only showed as 30% of all deaths. Okay, so it is not the highest mortality rate which has been mentioned. And this is not the information which is actually found in the first paragraph. So we are eliminating answer option D. So let's move on to answer option A. In answer option A, it is telling that a reference, that is reference to some recent findings relating to heart disease. So whenever we are solving any of the this parts of reading, we should be looking for synonyms, synonymous language, contrast words, sequential expressions. Okay, this will really help us to lead to the answer. See, if you can see after the contrast word, however, it is now becoming apparent, means it's becoming clear. So now it's a synonym. Can you see the same word in the answer option A, recent, which indicates the present one now, okay? Becoming apparent that another factor is at play. Okay, they're telling that they're referring to some recent findings relating to the heart disease. So that is the correct answer options. That is, what information can be found in the first paragraph? So the correct answer is a reference. Answer option A is reference to some recent findings relating to heart disease. I hope I'm clear with question number 15 and the answer option. Yes, question number 16. Yes, when the writer uses the word cost in the second paragraph, she is referring to. Okay, so this is the lexical question. Let's read the text. The keywords taken in the question are cost and second paragraph, okay, and referring to. The text says, pregnancies that are complicated by suboptimal conditions in the womb, such as happens during preeclampsia or placental insufficiency, enforce physiological adaptations in the unborn child and placenta. While these adaptations are necessary to maintain viable pregnancy and sustain life before birth, they come at a cost. The biological trade-off is reduced growth, which may in turn affect the development of key organs and systems such as the heart and the circulation, thereby increasing the risk of cardiovascular disease in adult life. Overwhelming evidence in more than a dozen countries has linked development under adverse intrauterine conditions leading to low birth weight with increased rates in adulthood of coronary heart disease and its major risk factors: hypertension, atherosclerosis, and diabetes. Okay, after reading the text, okay, we'll be reading the answer options. Yes, the answer option A is overwhelming evidence. Answer option B, placental insufficiency. Answer option C, viable pregnancy. Answer option D, reduce growth. So after reading the question text and answer options, if you have found the answer, you can put down in the chat box. Yes, answer option D is the correct answer. Now let's see how we derived at this answer. So as you all know, as per our mental strategies, we have to, whenever we solve a lexical question, we'll be finding the answer in the preceding sentence or just before the word or after the or in the following sentence. Okay. So let's read the sentence. The second sentence is telling that while these adaptations are necessary to maintain viable pregnancy and sustain life before birth, they come at a cost. So what is meant by the phrase they come at a cost? That means it has a negative influence. Okay. A negative effect is there. That is the meaning. So here it is clearly told the pregnancies are complicated by suboptimal conditions. What are the suboptimal conditions? Preeclampsia and placental insufficiency. So because of this, they enforce, that is, they apply some physiological adaptations in the unborn child and placenta. So what are the positive things that has to be maintained here? It is we have to maintain the viable pregnancy and sustain life before birth. So when we have to preserve all these things, they come at a cost. It has some negative influence. What is the negative influence? It is told in the next line. The biological trade-off is reduced growth. Because of these suboptimal conditions in the womb, what is the biological trade-off? What is the effect on the person or the mother? It is the reduced growth. So the correct answer option for question number 16 is D, reduced growth. Yes, question number 17. In the third paragraph, what does the author suggest about the work of international research community on this subject? So the keywords in the question are mainly author suggest, and it is about question, about international research community. And where will we find this answer? We will find the answer in the third paragraph. So as per our father strategies in reading part C, we are following QTA method, that is question, text and answer. So now let us read the text. Bharat, can you read the text?
The idea that a fetus's susceptibility to disease in later life could be programmed by the conditions in the womb has been taken up vigorously by the international research community, with considerable efforts concentrating on nutrient supply across the placenta as a risk factor. But that is just part of the story. How much oxygen is available to the fetus is also a determinant of growth and of the risk of adult disease. Dr. Dino Giussani's research group at Cambridge University in the UK is asking what effect reduced oxygen has on fetal development by studying populations at high altitude.
So question number 17, after reading the text, okay, now we have to read the answer options. The answer options are their focus, answer option A, their focus has been too narrow. The keyword is narrow. Answer option B, some of the studies may be flawed. Flawed is the keyword taken here. Next, answer option C, there is nothing original about their research. Nothing original is the keyword here. And answer option D, they were overly keen to seize on a particular idea. Here the keyword is overly keen and particular idea. Okay. Now that you have read the question, text and the answer options, you can put the right answers, the correct answer in the chat box. Now let's see what is the correct answer option. Yes, answer option A is the correct answer option. So here it is mentioned that their focus has been too narrow. I'll be coming to the correct answer. Before that, I'll explain you how I eliminated the other answer options. Okay. So answer option B. Some of the studies may be flawed. Flawed means it is invalid or having imperfection. So in the text, when you have read the text, did you find that any of the studies? Here it is only about the international research community, and it is only one study which has been mentioned. Here in the answer option, it is mentioned some of their studies. So it is more than one. So this cannot be the answer. Okay, so it is the wrong answer. So we are eliminating answer option B. And answer option C. There is nothing original about their research. So it is not mentioned. Nothing is mentioned regarding whether it is original or not about the research. Okay. Next, answer option D. They were overly keen to seize on a particular idea. Here it is not mentioned whether they were overly keen. That is, they were excessively interested to seize means stop on a particular idea. This has not been mentioned in the text. Now let's see why I've selected A as the correct answer option. That is, the idea that a fetus's susceptibility to disease in later life could be programmed by the conditions in the womb has been taken up vigorously by the international research community, okay, with considerable efforts concentrating on nutrient supply across the placenta as a risk factor. So what did they study about? What did they think about here? They've taken considerable efforts concentrating only on the nutrient supply. Efforts concentrating on nutrient supply across the placenta as a risk factor. So the topic is telling fetus susceptibility to disease in later life could be programmed by the conditions in the womb. Okay, this is a topic which has been taken by the international research community, and they have selected it based on the efforts concentrating on nutrient supply across the placenta as a risk factor. See, after that, there is a contrast word, but. But that is just part of the story. So it is only part of the story. That means that still it is left out. Something else is also there, which has to be put together with it to complete the story. Okay, so here it is mentioning how much oxygen is available to the fetus is also a determinant of growth and of the risk of adult disease. So here, the availability of oxygen to the fetus is also a determinant of growth and of the risk of adult disease. So what the author is suggesting by saying this, it is that the work of international research community on this subject has been too narrow. That is, their focus has been too narrow. Like, they concentrated only on one aspect. They did not cover the other aspects. They did not think about the other aspects. So the correct answer option is their focus has been too narrow. I hope all of you understood the answer for question number 17. Yes, question number 18. What was the aim of the study described in the fourth paragraph? So the key words in the question are aim, and it is about the study which has been described in the fourth paragraph. So you have to read the fourth paragraph. Fourth paragraph says, Gisani's team studied birth weight records from healthy term pregnancies in two Bolivian cities at obstetric hospitals and clinics selectively attended by women from either high-income or low-income backgrounds. Bolivia lies at the heart of South America, split by the Andean Cordillera into areas of very high altitude to the west and areas at sea level to the east. As the country extends into the Amazon basin, at 400 meters and almost 4,000 meters above sea level, respectively, the Bolivian cities of Santa Cruz and La Paz are striking examples of this difference. Pregnancies at high altitude are subjected to a lower partial pressure of oxygen in the atmosphere compared with those at sea level. Women living at high altitude in La Paz are more likely to give birth to underweight babies than women living in Santa Cruz. But is this a result of reduced oxygen in the womb or poorer nutritional status? So now we have finished reading the text. Let us read the answer options. Answer option A, to compare neonatal records between the UK and Bolivia. So the keywords are compare and UK and Bolivia. Next, answer option B. To assess the relative significance of two risk factors for newborns. So the keywords are assess and two risk factors. Next, answer option C. To find a link between birth weight and predisposition to heart disease. The keywords are find a link and heart disease. Next, answer option D. To determine the likelihood of high altitude babies being carried to full term. The keywords are determine and full term. So after reading the question, text and answer, if you all have derived it an answer, you can just mention it in the chat box. Let us see what is the correct answer. Yes, you're right. The correct answer is answer option B. Now let's read the question again. What was the aim of the study described in the fourth paragraph? So we have to mainly concentrate on the aim of the study. Okay. Yes. In the paragraph, you can see the comparison happening here. Gisani's team studied birth weight records from healthy term pregnancies. That means they have delivered and they've studied the birth weight records from healthy term pregnancies in two Bolivian cities. Okay. And mainly they have selected women either from high income or low income backgrounds. And they're telling about the two cities, that is Bolivia and yes, the two cities of Bolivia, that is Santa Cruz and La Paz. So Santa Cruz is at low altitude and La Paz is at high altitude. Okay. And they've mentioned pregnancies at high altitude are subjected to a lower partial pressure of oxygen in the atmosphere compared to those at sea level. They have a comparison with high altitude and low altitude. That is, pregnancies at high altitude are subjected to lower partial pressure of oxygen in the atmosphere compared with those at low altitude, that is at sea level. Next, again, they're telling women living in high altitude, that is mainly the women living in La Paz, okay? In La Paz are more likely to give birth to underweight babies than women living in Santa Cruz. Okay, they're telling that they are more likely, women living in high altitude are more likely to give birth to underweight babies when compared to low altitude women's. Okay, there is a contrast word, but is this a result of reduced oxygen in the womb or poorer nutritional status? So we can see that there are two factors which has been compared here, whether it is because of the reduced oxygen or oxygen in the womb or poorer nutritional status. See, the answer option B says that to assess the relative significance, that is relative importance of two risk factors for newborns. Okay. That is mainly the result, that is reduced oxygen in the womb, one risk factor, and the other one is poorer nutritional status of women's. So what was the aim of the study described in the fourth paragraph? The aim of the study was to assess the relative significance of two risk factors for newborns. Okay. Next, this is the correct answer option B. Next, answer option A. Now I'll be explaining how I eliminated other answer options. Answer option A says that to compare neonatal records between the UK and Bolivia. See, if you read the question along with the answer option, that is, what was the aim of the study described in the fourth paragraph? Is it to compare neonatal records between the UK and Bolivia? Is anything mentioned about UK in the text? No, it is not mentioned. So we are eliminating answer option A. It is only mentioned regarding two Bolivian cities. Okay. Next, answer option C. The aim of the study was to find a link between birth weight and predisposition to heart disease. Is it mentioned regarding this birth weight That is to find the link between birth weight and predisposition to heart disease. Nowhere in the text it is mentioned regarding these two aspects. So it is not mentioned and we are eliminating it. Next, answer option D. Let us read with a question stem. The aim of the study was to determine the likelihood of high altitude babies being carried to full term. So here already the birth has happened. So it is not about whether they have been carried to full term, because if you see the topic sentence, it is told that Gisani's team studied birth weight records. So when is this birth weight calculated? Like after the birth weight record from healthy term pregnancies. That means they have completed the term and delivered. Okay. So we cannot take this answer option as it is mentioned. It is to determine the likelihood of high altitude babies being carried to full term. So it has not been mentioned. I hope all of you understood the correct answer option of question number 18.